exactly. But
Yeah.
then it's now you're talking about so as far as tasks go, you're talking about priority management, you're talking about desires, goals, all these things that should be driving you. So figuring out where does the task sit on your priority stance? You know, is this something that really, like you said, it doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why are you doing it in the first place? Why isn't it even on your list? It
Yeah.
must be something. There must be something that leads to, this task needs to be done in order for you to get to a bigger task that you want to do.
Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have shaped their lives, inviting us all to reflect and grow together. Today we're joined by Brad Minus, an inspiring endurance coach who has transformed his own challenges into a powerful journey of resilience. With a remarkable background in triathlons and a passion for helping others, Brad sparks desire and insinuates limits for those he coaches, especially new runners and triathletes over 40. Let's dive into Brad's story and discover the quotes that has inspired him. Tell me your name and what you do.
My name is Brad Minus, and I am an endurance coach. I coach athletes to do things that are well above what they ever thought was possible.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
Your mind will give up 100 times before your body does.
Oh, okay. Okay. What does that mean?
So in our lives, we have challenges every single day. My quote is literal to my coaching clients. If they're in the middle of a marathon or an Ironman, a triathlon, or trying to get up a mountain, there's going to be points and times when they just want to give up, when you just want to quit. And most of the time, it's not the body. The body can continue to move on. It's the mind that stops us. And a lot of times it's pain. A lot of times it's fear. And if we just push through, we'll find another gear, we'll find another level, we'll find another consciousness that will allow us to keep moving forward and thereby extending our range and getting us to the edge of what we actually have potential to do. So the next time that you're lifting, running, doing whatever, you'll be at the point, oh, I need to slow down, or I need to walk, or I need to stop, is to keep going, to take that next step, to say, all right, well, I feel like I gotta quit, but let me go to the next telephone pole. Let me go to the next street light. Let me go to the next line. Let me do one more mile. And we stretch it. And then the next time you go about it, you're like, oh, well, I've already done that. I've already come this far. Now I can go further, and then you keep going further and further and further, and then therefore we then get to our potential.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is getting to our the farthest edges of our potential.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that quote. I noticed you mentioned that the mind gives up 100 times before the body does, and it's something that I have noticed. Right? It's not just this is not just in sports or exercising and all that. I noticed that sometimes when we need to walk, right? We need to do any kind of work that it's not exactly physical intensive, but it would involve a little movement, right? Something that you have to do, like almost a walk. Like even if you're typing on the computer, and you still like this, and I mean, of course, it's not physical intensive. Like I'm not gonna count that compared to like running a marathon or stuff like that. But you have to sit down on the desk and type the stuff, look at the computer screen, and just be there for like a couple of hours and to work on the thing. But sometimes it's not like we're tired. We're not tired. We had like maybe what's the longest hours of sleep? Maybe 14 hours of sleep, intense sleep. Right, so we're not sleep deprived. The day before the night we didn't do anything exactly, so it wasn't like, oh, we were stressed. We're not tired. We're not sleep deprived. We're not hungry, right? We are fortunate enough to have 3 square meal, even 4 square meal, depending on the case scenario. We eat well and we eat really good meal, right? We eat something healthy, but for some reason we just don't feel physically, right? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. We don't just feel physically to do the work, and we just lie down on the couch and then scroll through TikTok and social media for a while, and the day is gone.
Yep. Yeah. Um, and that's where movement comes in.
Yeah.
An object in motion stays in motion.
Hmm.
So that also goes along with this quote, right? And what you were basically saying, you know, you're in the middle of work, you got to get it done, but all of a sudden you feel this drain. Change the position, right? That's where stand-up desks have become so
Yeah.
popular right nowadays is all right, I feel a little fatigued. I don't want to do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. Change your position and go back to work, right? And that's again, that's the body giving up. It's not, it's a drain. Not necessarily is your mind not sharp. Your mind is sharp, but your body is tired, which is then giving signals to your mind saying that, oh, you're tired. You shouldn't do this anymore. Change
Yeah.
your position, get blood flowing again.
Yeah.
You know, take just a couple of minutes, step back, you know, do a couple squats, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, then come back, and you'll be able to continue. So that's not giving up; it's taking a break.
Yeah.
Much different. Much different.
Yeah. I noticed that, because this scenario that I'm painting, right? Of course, when you fatigue and all, that's a different case. This one is you're looking at yourself, you're looking all around, like you've not even spent 15 minutes in the actual walk. And there is no evidence around you to show that, oh, I'm actually fatigued. Like if you've been working for like 8 hours, 9 hours, it's understandable that, okay, I've spent some time walking, so I'm a bit tired. Let me just push through a bit, right? And just conclude and make sure everything is done. That's a different scenario, right? I'm talking about you've not even started the work, right? And you just feel like your body doesn't feel, what's the word? I don't know if it's body or mind, I don't know, but you just don't feel like you feel tired. You're not tired, you feel tired. So yeah, that's the word I want to use. The mind has given up. Yeah, in this context, you've given up already. And so you're like, let me just relax.
Right. But it's same thing, right? Is you sat down, you started a task, and you're like, you know what, I really don't want to do this right now. I want to do something else. Change your position. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to movement. You know what I mean? And that's this is the reason we have more issues with our bodies today because of lack of movement. You know, we're basically stating that, oh, we're using our minds more, you know, people are doing this and that. And like you said, you just feel like, oh, I'm just tired. I just want to sit on the couch and scroll through my phone. Well, that's feeling is always going to be there until you make the change. And sometimes movement, literal movement, will help you make that change, right? You don't want to do something, take a walk.
Okay.
Find out, why is it I don't want to do this? Is it strictly because
Hmm.
it's hard? Why is it hard? And why don't I want to do it? You know, let's not, you know, a lot of times it's fear, not only fear of failure, but fear of success. And then some, you know what I mean? It happens all the time. It happens to me, quite honest, you know, just as much as it does the next person. But you just don't
Uh,
want to do that certain thing. Well, why? We have to figure out why. Now let's use our brain to figure out why. And a lot of times, a combination of movement and solving this problem will help you. And a lot of times, the thing is, I just don't want to do this. This is a task that's tedious, blah blah blah. But I know I've got to do it. Movement sometimes will help you get to that and say, let's just get it done.
yeah, I mean, in certain contexts, right? Now, of course, there are tedious tasks that, that scare us. But then there are other tasks that you just realize that it's not really a big deal. Like, it's not as big as I make it to seem, right? It's not that much of a deal. I'm just the one who is, like, the mental block is up here. It's the work is not hard. Like it's just to copy a couple of things and put it in a spreadsheet. There's nothing there. And I know how to do it. It's not like, oh, this stuff is hard. I don't know how to do it. I know how to do this stuff, but for some reason, you said like fear of failure, fear of success and all that. I just don't want to do the task. And you mentioned movement. Now, the strange thing about movement here is that when that feeling is happening, right, at that point in time, the last thing you want to do is move. Like it's like I know because moving because I've experienced it that when you take a walk, what happens is that there's this clarity, right? You realize like when the moment you finish taking the walk, you're like, ooh, wow. You feel like you can conquer the world.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
then it's now you're talking about so as far as tasks go, you're talking about priority management, you're talking about desires, goals, all these things that should be driving you. So figuring out, where does the task sit on your priority stance? You know, is this something that really, like you said, it doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why are you doing it in the first place? Why isn't it even on your list? It
Yeah.
must be something. There must be something that leads to, you know, this task needs to be done in order for you to get to a bigger task that you want to do, you know. um you know, for instance, I know you do a podcast. I hate doing social media posts. Can't stand them. You know, I'm old
Uh,
school and I just don't like doing them. But unfortunately, in this day and age, you know, if you're going to access your community, you're going to access them through social media. My bigger goal
uh,
is to make the podcast and my
yeah,
coaching business more, more make a pull awareness to it, right? So more people will get eyes on it, more people will, you know, will listen, more people will, you know, get onto my coaching roster, those things. And these little things that we can't stand to do, we have to do. And those are probably the things that what you're talking about is like, I really don't want to do this. Well, we have to look towards what is the end goal? What is our end goal? Where do we want to be? And if this task or these tasks that we really don't want to do are going to get us to that end goal, they got to be done. So now a time then is maybe the ideas thing is why am I doing this task?
yeah. Yeah, I want us to go back to endurance, right? Because, of course, exercising, sports, athleticism and all that, it's it's important. And but one of the contexts that I can immediately think of is walk, right? You know, walk. Sometimes you just do 3 4 hours walk. You've not even done anything, and now you're feeling tired. And I'm like, you could go for that and spend 5 6 hours and actually work on the thing, but you don't. So what are some of the things as much as the mind gives up 100 times, what are the things we could do to make sure the mind doesn't give up uh, even 200 times? And if the mind gives up 200 times, we make sure it doesn't give up 400 times. And we just keep on moving and moving and moving. You
Yeah.
mentioned movement, but what else?
Yeah, most of the times it's small goals,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So you feel like you let's go back to your example. And you're like, I really don't want to do this. All right, well, let me do this portion of it. And then you get to that portion of it, and then you're like, oh, well, let me do this piece of it too, real quick, and then I'll take a break. Well, no, no, no. Well, let me just do this piece and then I'll take a break. And you keep moving the line. And before you know it, you're done. So
Yeah.
that's a way for you not to. And again, in athletics and endurance sports, it's the same thing. It's like you want you want to finish the race, but you feel like you're like I'm dead tired. I don't know what's going on. Something's different. Blah blah blah. And you're like, well, all right. Let me just get to the next aid station. Let me just get to the next telephone pole. Let me just get, and then you get to the telephone pole. You're like, all right, well, let me just go to the next one. Let me go to the next one. For us, you know, in endurance sports, and I'm talking about marathons, you know, long distance triathlon, that type of thing, that stuff always happens, but there's a flow state that happens,
Yeah.
right? And that's also will dictate your situation as well. The scenario that you gave is we get into that flow state. Well, we just want to get back to that flow state. And again, setting the line, that next line up, next line up, next line up, and we do small little goals. Okay, I got to it. I got to it. That just might allow us to get back into a flow state. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Now I'm back on track. My mind's back in order. Now I'm going to go for my goal.
Yeah, it's. I want to talk about briefly, right? I know we don't have that much time because flow state is such a big and broad topic,
Yeah, it's huge.
right? The first time when I saw, like, when I was introduced to the concept of flow states, I was like, yeah, I'm like, I've experienced this thing before. You know how you've experienced something, but you never knew the term, if that the thing had a word for it. I'm like, yeah, I've experienced it before. And when you talked about, cutting goals and all that, right? And I just in my mind, I was like, okay, that recommendation is for when you're struggling with the task, right? There are days when you're so soaked in the work that you forget to even eat, right? You lose track of time. And then sometimes maybe if you went out to work, you look at the window, you realize that, oh, it's night already. Well, I'm supposed to be on my way. What happened? Like, you just in the work. Like, um what could we do to facilitate the flow process, the flow state?
Yeah. You know what? I've I've witnessed that. I've been there. That flow state it's addictive, you know? And I say if you're doing stuff that's productive,
Yeah.
you should let it happen.
Yeah.
But if you're concentrating too much on one thing and I mean, obviously we don't want to miss out on appointments and phone calls and stuff like that, then it's time boxing and literally is to time box yourself. Set your alarms, set everything else, and you just go, okay, listen, I want to get this task done. I want to give myself 15 minutes to do it. or I'm going to give myself 2 hours, and then alarm goes off because you either got another appointment or you got to do something else. But it's literally, and I know people that time box their whole day.
Oh,
Literally, it's like my alarm wakes up at my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. From 4 a.m. to 4:30, hygiene, which means vitamins, coffee, blah blah blah, take care of the cats or the dogs or whatever, blah blah blah, from 4 to 4:30. From 4:30 to 4:15, I get dressed for my workout, leave for my workout at 4:45. At my doing my workout at by 5. By 6 o'clock, I'm done. On my way home, 6:15, I'm back at the house. 6:15 to 6:45 is shower, change, get ready for work. 6:45 to 7:15 is play with the cats, finish my breakfast. 7:15 travel to work, and literally it's the whole day is boxed, and you make inside those boxes are times for from 5:15 when I get home from the office till 5:45. That's scrolling time. I'm literally gonna put it in 5:45. That's my time to be on TikTok, to be on this, and that could be scrolling for fun or new ideas for whatever. And then from 5:45 to 6:15 is now these are I don't now I'm going to, those are my time for me to do my posting, right? But you put that in, and then 6:45 to 6:45 to 7:45, I'm gonna watch TV. I am gonna literally binge an episode of something from 7:15 to from 7:45 to or 6:45 to 7:45. You put all that stuff in there, and your day is mapped out. Now you can do ranges. Obviously, you give yourself slack in there. But if you literally put it out there and say, no, I have a time to scroll. I have a time to answer emails. I have a time to eat my breakfast. I have a time to get a snack. I even put it down. I even got time on my calendar from 3:45 to 4 o'clock. I'm going to go to the water cooler and talk and socialize with my coworkers. you know,
uh,
but you literally, it's funny that if you put that stuff in, you're like, oh, I do get that. It's almost like an award, a reward, right? You're like, oh, I get my 15, 20 minutes to hang out with my coworkers. But then alarm goes off. Oh, next
time
session,
up. I'm gonna get
move
back
on.
to work.
Yeah. But you build it in. I build in time to play with my kids, time to play with my pets, time to,
Yeah,
be with my wife.
yeah. For me, what I notice about in terms of when I talk about flow state, right? I'm talking about tasks that are really, really important, like high leverage tasks, right? Not just, I'm not talking about flow state for scrolling on your mobile phone. Okay, but one other thing I noticed about flow state is that as much as you can do it, right, you want to make sure that when you're doing flow state, you're not multitasking in on those kind of tasks, right? You're not switching between tasks because every time you switch between tasks, it's like you're starting afresh. And so, as much as you want to get into the state where like everything is moving so fast and it's happening so fast, you don't want to then move and then from that kind of task you do something else. I'll give an example. Let's say you're writing, right? Let's say you're spending some time writing, coming up with ideas and scripting for your podcast, and then from writing and coming up with ideas, you move on and then you start editing a previous episode you did the other time. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong, but guess what happens? The time you're about to get into the flow state of coming up with really good ideas and scripts and all that, you now have to start afresh with the editing the episode. It's really for high leverage tasks, but multitasking things like going to the gym, taking protein stuff, and all those things. Those things are not quote unquote tasks that require flow states, kind of, right? Because I mean, if you, will you get when you're taking breakfast, I'm like, what will flow state do for you when you're taking breakfast?
Uh, eh, I mean, if you're cooking your own breakfast, a nice flow state probably make you better eggs.
Okay, okay,
But no, 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 I get it. I get it.
yeah,
But there's also, so the nice thing about time boxing is that you either can increase your slack. So you might make tasks a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, even though they might take less time. So, maybe there's a task that it takes 15 minutes. You give yourself 25 because maybe it is a flow state task. Or the nice thing about it is I made the dang I made the time box. I can if I'm in a flow state and I look down and I go, oh wait, you know what? Maybe I push something. I go, I'm really into this. Maybe I rearrange it real quick. I take 2 seconds. I go, you know what? This task is not as important. Or I make a phone call and I say, listen, I'm in the middle of something. Can we move this and push it and get back to work? But I made the time box. I'm the one that made the schedule. If it's, it's up to me. If I decide that I want to kill this, well, in project management, we call it killing the schedule. If I decide I want to kill the schedule that day, I kill the schedule that day.
Yeah.
It's my life. It's my schedule. I'm the one that made it. I'm the one that can break it.
Yeah. And that takes us back to what you said earlier on, having priority and knowing what is important, because we don't want to be killing the schedule for trivial things that are not the yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So
You know
so
what
you want to
again?
like, oh yeah, this stuff is very important. Like this is like high level VVIP stuff. The schedule. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so you know about the four quadrants,
Yeah,
and those
yeah.
are the things you always want to be. You want to be in quadrant two, right?
Yeah, just for those that are curious, what's the four quadrants? Quickly.
You've got urgent, important, urgent, unimportant, non-urgent, important, urgent, or urgent, non-important, and not urgent, unimportant. Um,
Urgent, important,
and so you're talking
important,
about things that
non-urgent.
I'm sorry.
Wait, urgent, important,
Yeah,
important,
so
not
on
urgent.
one side is urgency. One side is urgency. So your x-axis is urgency. Yeah.
This is
No,
x-axis. This this is x-axis. This
why
is
is
y-axis.
urgency x is importance, right? So you've got two boxes, important, urgent, non-urgent, important, non-important. So urgent, important um would be a task that's time sensitive at work. You have a deadline at work.
Yeah,
Unimportant, urgent is paying a bill, right? It's not really. I mean, it's important, but it's not like detrimental. Um, um, and then important, non-urgent. Non-important, and urgent. I'm sorry, that's the bill. I'm sorry, your bills are in quadrant three.
yeah,
Bills, little things around the house, stuff like that. Your non-urgent important is where you want to be. That's the stuff you want to do, right? That is the stuff that you want to do. Those are the things that you are, writing, preparing for your next episode, all that stuff. Because yes, there's a deadline, but usually it's far out, your goals, your dreams, and then non-urgent, non-important is Netflix binging,
yeah,
scrolling, doom scrolling, the whole
yeah.
bit.
Thank you so much, Brad. Thank you so much for sharing your favorite quotes with me and having me make sense of it.
I appreciate you allowing me on the program and on your show and the opportunity to share my
Yeah.
wisdom.
Where can the listeners learn more about you and what you do?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Where can the listeners learn more about you and what you do?
So I have a podcast called Life Changing Challengers, and you can find that at lifechangingchallengers.com. I also have a coaching program for endurance athletes and getting fit through endurance, not just going to the gym. And that's at innerfireendurancesports.com.
Okay. Once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Relatable Wisdom. If you found something meaningful in this episode, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that by buying me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. Every little bit keeps the conversations going. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep growing.